Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you joining us today. Tennessee with the 45-42 upset on the road at Kentucky. It was the first time they've knocked off a ranked team since 2018. They're now 5-4, primed for a bowl, yet Kentucky's still piling up yards. We'll try and explain how Tennessee won that game last night. Over the next 90 minutes, we'll also talk about Tennessee's decision not to self-impose a bowl ban. We've got some unique insights on the Walter Nolan recruitment. We've got a lot to cover today. Let's get right into it. Our first segment of the show brought to you by the folks at the Garza Law Firm. And look, no one wants to need an attorney. When you do, that typically means something's wrong, and that means it's a stressful time in your life. Well, you can get some peace of mind. Call East Tennessean Marcos Garza. Call the Garza Law Firm. They'll know exactly how to help you. They know the local court system. They know the local people because they are local. You see a lot of ads for law firms who are in Birmingham and Memphis, and they advertise here. That's not going to do you a heck of a lot of good. The Garza Law Firm can and will. Give them a shout this week, garzalaw.com. All right, want to welcome in the panelists for today. We have right here Will Overstreet, VFL. Will, thanks.
Got a beer.
From WNML, that's 99.1 The Sports Animal. I'm getting used to letting that roll off the tongue like that. We got Josh Ward, Jimmy Himes right here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Down there, the other bookend VFL, we got Marlon Walls. Marlon, thanks for being here, man.
I appreciate it.
All right. Let me just start with some numbers. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Tennessee last night allowed 35 first downs, 12 of 17 third down conversions. They allowed 5 scores in 5 red zone attempts. They lost the time of possession battle 46-08 to 13-52. They allowed 612 yards of total offense. They allowed 42 points, and they won? My first thought is, how many times are you ever going to be able to win with numbers like that? But my second thought is, or is that the new normal? We kind of talked about what you would see from the Josh Heupel system before the season. Yesterday might have been the first time we really got one of those games to the extent we feared, thought, hoped, whatever word you want to use. My question is that something you can do with any kind of regularity and continue to win, even in Heupel's system? Your thoughts?
No, I mean, a 3-1 losing time of possession is not sustainable over a long time period. I mean, just in that, you would seem you're not going to get enough opportunities. You're not really controlling the game clock. You're going to leave your defense out there too long. In most games like that, you're going to lose that game. I would think Heupel would even admit to that in this game, is that can't happen. I mean, you could see this team being half, losing 2-1 on that, but you can't lose 3-1. I mean, that's not sustainable in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, his offense, 23, 25 minutes, you see that a lot, even in wins when he was at UCF, but 13, 14 minutes, insane.
No, I agree with Will. I think if you can get to 20, 22 minutes, I've seen some teams win with that number, kind of doing what Tennessee did, and that's having scoring on 2 and 3 play drives or 1 play drives. But to do that over a period of time, I bet you in a given year you won't see a team with less than 15 minutes time of possession win a game maybe 2-3% of the time. I don't think it's something that we're going to see change. I do think that you're going to see more scores like this, but I don't see teams winning with less than 14 minutes of time of possession on any kind of regular basis. I think it's going to be very rare.
I was surprised last night by the number of folks who reached out to me angry that ESPN kept pointing out the time of possession numbers. It's about points, not minutes. They're just attacking Tennessee. It's like, that's not an insult. That's a legitimate deal. It is, it's like saying in basketball, I don't care that you're shooting 10%. It's about points. Yes, but if you're shooting 10%, you're more than likely not going to have enough points to win. If you're losing the time of possession like that, that is a real issue. Again, they're going to lose the time of possession battle every week. It was what they were doing last night that was so bizarre. But people better get used to hearing people talk about time of possession, because they're going to hear it for years as long as Heupel's here. Josh Ward, your thoughts on this that game yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a wild stat, first of all, to point out. Will and Marlon might disagree, but I'm sure defensive players can feel the 45 minutes of being out on the field as well. So that's going to factor in. Will we see more games like that? I think we'll see more against teams like Kentucky or Missouri. probably not against Georgia, maybe I'm proven wrong in 6 days, but against championship caliber teams with higher level talent, you're probably not going to get away with that. You might be able to put up some points later in the game, but trading back and forth like that where it gets really wild, more talent's going to keep that from happening. Marlon?
It was painful to watch as a defense.
I was going to ask you.
It was exciting football as far as the scores being trading off and on. But as a defensive guy, that was painful to watch. And I don't think you can sustain that throughout the season, especially as you go against better opponents with higher offensive firepower and better defensive guys. So it was painful to watch this defense.
See, I wonder how long it's going to take because it was unusual for me to sit there and watch it. I mean, we've seen games like that. We know there are other teams like that. We've never covered one like that here. I mean, Butch Jones' hurry-up offense was nothing compared to what we're seeing now. I just wonder how long it's going to take for people to get used to, 45-42 wins and 45-42 losses, because you're going to lose something like that. That's the new normal. Are people going to accept that and be cool with that? I mean, it beats what Jeremy Pruitt was throwing out there last year. I'd rather win 45-42 or lose 45-42 than lose 35-7. But it is going to take some getting used to, I think.
I do too. As long as you're on the other side, you're on the right side of the win column, it'll be acceptable. I mean, Pitt was sort of like that, and you lost that one. So as long as you're racking up enough wins to get there, I don't know that it'll matter. I remember when Hal Mumme went to Kentucky, and they were scoring a lot of points, but they were losing some of those games too, and he was doing some wacky stuff like going for it on 4th and 15 from his own 20. Can't do that kind of stuff.
Lane Kiffin type stuff.
Yeah, genius.
Genius.
But I do think Tennessee will be involved in a lot more games like this where it's going to take 40, 45 points to win.
It'll last, and people will be okay with, like Jimmy said, but I think where it's going to rub people the wrong way is if you go up against a Florida and you lose 40-37, they're going to start blaming the defense and just saying it was all the defense's fault, and not taking the fair share of the offense is not controlling the time of possession as well.
Spoken like a true defensive player. And let me go ahead. This is the interesting thing. Let's put up this next graphic. The reason I think there may be a ceiling on Josh Heupel's success here, and I think his floor is higher than Pruitt or Butch Jones was, barring crazy injuries. I think his floor is higher. I think he has a ceiling, though, that it's going to be tough to play 12 games a year with that system and not have one or two come back to bite you. I think it's going to be tough for him to win an SEC title here. Look at this. You're doing what you want to do on offense. That first quarter, you had it for 37 seconds. You ran 4 plays. You got 150 yards. You're leading 14-7. Perfect. Except your defense was on the field for 14 and a half of the 15 minutes. At the end of the first half, you'd had the ball for less than 6 minutes. So that's when it's doing what you want it to do. So it's not just if your offense isn't failing and you're doing 3 and outs, you're putting your defense at risk. No, if you're scoring on 40-second drives and 15-second drives, you're also hurting your defense.
That's tough.
I think that creates a ceiling there. Not saying that Josh Heupel isn't a good choice, and if I'm a Tennessee fan, if he's getting you to 8, 9, 10 wins the next few years, but he's not winning a title, I'm still happy and throwing parades. But your thoughts on this was really the first time. The Pitt game was early. It still wasn't an 80-point game or 87-point game. Your thoughts on what you saw yesterday regarding the offense hitting on all cylinders like it's supposed to, and that being part of the backfire?
Yeah, it is. I mean, because you like you said, one play your first drive, and then it's basically a 2-play or 3-play drive for your second drive, and so all of a sudden your defense is left out there, and they were going up against a team that's a ground and pound with a strong offensive line that's going to wear you down. So it's a tough game for the defense to be in, something like that, because you're getting them out in the field. And it really, at the same time as it played into our offense's hands, it played in what Kentucky's hands. Because Kentucky was about time of possession, and they're thinking in that first half, probably we got Tennessee right where we want them. In the sense of, hey, they've scored a lot. We're going to be able to get 1 or 2 series where we slow them down, but this defense is going to wear down by the end of the game, and we're going to be able to control the clock more so. All we need to do is get a lead, and we've got it.
But I'll say this, the defense was on the field a lot because they were terrible on third down.
Well, I agree with that.
Their fault.
Yeah.
And so
I think with that goes too, or the amount of snaps is mind-blowing.
99 snaps.
That's a lot of snaps on one side of the ball. In a normal game, you're probably getting a little bit over that. That's offense and defense combined. So for that to be 99 snaps just defensively, you saw some guys towards the end of it, just running up the field. Hey, I did my job. take whatever you're going to take from me, but that's a lot of snaps. And so mentally, man, it's challenging.
Well, and that is the point too, as well. Is there were a lot of plays left out by this defense, and I think, but we've talked about it. I think you've got more of a talent discrepancy on your defense, and so that's why you're also missing, because there were several times on 3rd and down, a guy came up and missed the tackle, and he was the guy that has to make the tackle, and they don't get the guy on the ground. So yeah, it is the defense's fault, not just the offense's fault. But that's where you're missing some talent at certain positions that's going to keep you in that kind of game this year and make that happen more if you don't have the offense helping you on defense.
Considering who you were up against, you didn't have a Matt Corral over there. You didn't have Alabama's offensive weapons. I thought that was the worst tackling we've seen all year.
Yes.
And it was from the first drive on. So you can't blame that on time of possession. But the point is, time of possession, you can't continue to do this over the course of the season and continue to win games.
And
like
you
this.
can't be falling back 3 yards when the running back hits you if you're a linebacker, because that's basically going to get them extra first down if you're getting hit 3 yards back every time you come up to make the hold. And that's what happened. I haven't seen UT go backwards on the running back, so it's been a trouble.
We're 15 minutes over and we're 12 minutes into the show.
Time of possession.
Time of possession.
We
Bill,
controlled it.
You
I
dominated.
controlled it. Sorry.
All right, when we come back, quarterbacks running on the Vols D. Yep, happened again. We'll talk about that. And then also, did a healthier offensive line have a good night or not so good night? How can you not have a good night with 45 points? We'll discuss. Come on back.